Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I'm here this morning with David.
Hello.
And we are revved up to share with you the impetus, the value, the necessary importance of taking risks in our lives. We're not just going to tell you to just do it, but we'll tell you why to do it and how to do it. As always, the Weekly Energy Boost is the 50 minutes of your week where we share with you the most practical and powerful spiritual advice from the ancient wisdom of Kabbalah. And we do so based on your comments, your questions, the feedback that you share with us. So we encourage you to continue to participate in the conversation on Facebook, on IGTV, on YouTube. You're always welcome to email us as well at energyboost@kabbalah.com. The real, I think the fact of the matter is, and we've been talking about this for the past, I would say, not just last week, but even into the previous week, we're in the month of Aquarius on the Kabbalistic calendar, which means that we're all going to feel a little bit extra lift in our step. And we want to take advantage of that ability, whatever those things that we've been carrying around with us that are dragging us down, the things we've been procrastinating about, the things that we've been pushing to the wayside. This is the time to take the bull by the horns and just do it. And I'm sorry I said just do it again because I said we weren't going to say just do it. We'll tell you why in a little bit. But, we were talking in the car about how, it's very easy to say don't be afraid, right? Last week's show, and if you didn't catch last week's show, I encourage you to go back and listen to it. Last week's show was all about fears, overcoming our fears. Mm-hmm. And to me, taking risks is the other side of that coin. It's rather than doing something out of fear, it's incentivizing the action. Right? Like, why should I take the risk? Here comes David and Elisheva. We want to talk to you about why take the risk.
Yeah, we were talking about this in the car and the energy that's available for everybody. And, instead of just telling people what to do, we were talking about what's the goal that they want to reach. And I think I'm going to share something that is where Kabbalah kind of becomes different than many other teachings. We like to bring other teachings in to create that bridge between all these different worlds. But what's really powerful about Kabbalah is it explains that there are really two worlds that you can decide to live in. And these two worlds exist parallel to each other. And there is one world. And this world has a lot of lack and chaos and ups and downs. And it's the world that by default we all experience. And what the other world, the second world, is the world that has no lack. There is peace. There is fulfillment. That even though there might be what looks like some illusionary challenges and tests in this world that we call the world of the tree of life, it has many names, but let's call it the tree of life, the world of the light of the Creator, that you live in the miraculous path and you don't feel lack. And what dictates which world we live in? To the extent that I have negativity, reactive behavior, worry, and fear, and not doing anything about it, I'll stay stuck in the lower world, the world of chaos. And when I'm transforming that negativity, those fears, and that reactive behavior, then immediately I'm connected to the world that has no lack, what we call the tree of life. And it's my decision at any moment which world I want to connect to. So how is that connected to taking risks? Instead of just telling people, do what you're scared of, break your fear, what does that mean? People don't get strength from that often. Often they feel compelled to just, get out of their comfort zone. We want to get to a place where nothing on the outside is controlling us. And that is a gradual process of examining myself, auditing myself, and making steps and I'm trying to explain it the right way, making steps that are not because I want to feed my lack, but in fact shifting my consciousness and saying, I have no lack at this moment. That's really what that's really what the risk is. How do you take a risk? It's a risk to you because you feel like you're coming from a place where you don't have something. That's why it's risky. It's risky because I could have, not have, I might lose something. That's why you feel there's a risk. But when you come from a place of, I have everything. Well, but look at your bank account. You have nothing. Or look at your situation. It's in shambles. Forget about what the situation looks like. Remind yourself, decide with your consciousness, I have everything. Don't have lack. I don't subscribe to this illusionary world of chaos. And at that moment, by you keep saying that to yourself and deciding it internally, you shift to that world of the tree of life. And then it's not a risk anymore. All of a sudden the tree of life gives you the wisdom, the knowledge, and the power to do what you need to do.
Well, but I think that you hit on something that is, whether you've thought about it or not, it's a dominating influence on whether or not you take risks, is the perception of the unknown, right? I'm going to take a risk only when I know it's going to turn out the way I want it to.
Correct.
I'm going to take a risk only when I know I cannot fail.
Correct.
Boys and girls, there is no such thing. I mean, that's one of the essential teachings of Kabbalah, is that the only thing you can control is yourself. Even when, how many times in life have you done something that you've done a million times and it didn't work out that one time? Or, you thought you could count on somebody because you've always been able to count on them and they weren't there for you. What happened to that, right? And I sound like I'm saying glass half empty, but what I'm really saying is we live under the perception or the assumption that when things go according to our plan, it's because that's what I planned, right? I willed it that way. I made it so. And here comes Kabbalah and says, wait a second, the fact that it goes your way or appears to be under your domain or your control isn't an indication that it's going according to your wishes or desires. We want to tap into this reality where my desire, and this is something David often says, my desire and the desire of the Creator are aligned, right? I want what my soul wants and what that requires of each one of us. And the thing I love about Aquarians, and again, I have 3 of them at home, is they're kind of like, take me or leave me. Right? This is who I am. I don't care if you don't like it.
Right.
And there are so many of us who are busy all day long doing costume changes for, I got to be who I am at work. I'm going to a meeting with a big client. I got to put on this costume. I'm going home to be with my family. Got to put on that costume. Nobody's around. I get to put on my, shed all my costumes and be myself for 5 minutes before I get to the next costume change. Here, what we're really saying today is that the first step in choosing Tree of Life reality 24/7 is being the unique you that the world cannot live without. Being authentically and transparently you, which I think is maybe the greatest risk for any of us, to not be afraid of what people are going to think, feel, do when I am who I am. And I even had a conversation with someone last week, and she said to me, wow, I'm really going to upset a lot of people if I start to be that person. And the truth is, yeah, it may be uncomfortable for some people when you start to have healthier boundaries or express those parts of you that you've concealed under those costumes. But so what?
How does a person live in the tree of life? There's 2 things you have to always keep in mind. That your whole life is predicated upon 2 things. Number 1, sharing. It's a loaded word, but that my existence is to add value. My existence is to add value, to create, to bring joy, to bring pleasure, whatever that means, and whatever occupation that you do, and whatever is your modality to bring that energy to the world, it has to be your consciousness. And people think, well, I'm a sharing person. If you really think about it, our default consciousness is, how can I get something? So my focus needs to be, how do I give? And we talked about this. Actually, no, I talked about this in a live class I had last week. Someone raised their hand. They said, well, I'm giving all the time, and it's always backfiring. And
That's one of my favorite questions in a class.
I said, well, let's understand what you mean by you're giving all the time. And then we talked about
and what is the backfire?
Yeah, what's the backfire? So we have a relationship. She's telling me about a relationship where she's, quote, giving all the time. I said, well, what are you giving? She's like, well, whatever this person wants or even needs, I'm there for them. I provide it for them. Giving doesn't mean to satisfy someone's itch. Giving means I really feel the soul of the person, and I feel what they need long-term for their happiness. And often what someone needs long-term for their happiness is not congruent with what makes them happy in the moment. And you have to take into consideration all of that and then find the sensitive, down-to-earth way of helping them get there, and not from a holier-than-thou or controlling or pompous way of telling them they need to go there. So, for example, you're giving advice. How do you give advice? First, feel the vessel. Where do they need to go? How are they going to get there? What's going to really inspire them? What are they willing to hear? What are they not willing to hear? These are all things you need to consider to be a giver. If you just say what you want to say in the way you want to say it because you're in the mood to say it and you think you're a guru, you're not a giver. You're just someone who talks at people. Giving really means feeling the vessel, feeling the customer, feeling your spouse, feeling the relationship, feeling where they're coming from, what are they ready to receive, and once they receive it, is that going to motivate them to become greater? Because when you give someone something and it makes them worse, you didn't give. It makes them weak, you didn't give. It makes them more selfish, you didn't give. That's one. And the second thing to live in the tree of life is certainty. And this is all connected to this week's energy. Moving forward, which is giving, and certainty. And we had a study about this last week, about this week's energy. What is real certainty? I've had many classes about certainty, but you always need to hear it again and again. Certainty is a challenge occurs, and every part of you wants to understand the challenge, fix the problem, research it. You want to know. You want to have knowledge. That there's an eager desire to have knowledge because you don't want pain. So you react. Certainty is, I don't care about the knowledge. I have complete certainty that because this came from the Creator, it is good. That needs to be the starting point. And you need to believe in it. And you need to hold on to that before you do your research to fix the problem. People try to fix their problems, and then they start to have certainty because things go their way. That's not certainty. And these are the two qualities connected to the tree of life, because the opposite of the tree of life is called the tree of knowledge. That's actually what the code name in Kabbalah is of the world of chaos. It's the tree of knowledge. And those are people who always try to control the information because they're afraid to trust in the spiritual system. They're always manipulating.
They're trying to keep their costume on.
Right. They're trying to keep their costume on. Very good.
And they're worried that someone is going to see that there's something behind it that's not.
Exactly. They're trying to control the flow of knowledge and control the flow of information because they're afraid. As opposed to the way of the Creator, and some of this might, for brand new students who are listening to it, our brand new audience who are listening to us, they may be like, well, what are you talking about? Got to learn the basics of Kabbalah to truly appreciate what we're saying here, which is certainty. We want to live in the world of certainty. I want to live my life based on certainty, and then the universe will send me the knowledge and information I need to become great. I'm not going to now manipulate and react and take from a place of lack because I need to know. I want knowledge.
Can I do a little commercial?
Yeah.
Well, over the last, I think it's at least a year, we've been telling you about the Kabbalah 1 master course that David worked on a couple of years ago. Not even a couple of years ago. We've twisted arms and begged and pleaded, and now we have a special discount for our listeners. So if you go onto Kabbalah1.com and enter the coupon code WEB, that's for Weekly Energy Boost, WEB30, you can get a 30% discount on the course. That means you get at least 10 hours of David, if not more. No, more than 10 hours. It's something like 10 hours and 30 mini sessions.
The Kabbalah 1, O-N-E, not one.
Right.
Kabbalah1.com has our live class in LA filmed, edited, and then an additional 35-minute classes that don't exist anywhere else. And it's incredibly powerful. We're getting people. It's our most popular course because we have people every day from all around the world signing up for it, listening to it in their own way. It's an app that you can listen to from home.
So there you go. We love you so much. We got you 30% off. So get online and enjoy it after you're done listening to today's show.
And even if you've been a student for a long time, I've been recommending students to take Kabbalah 1, whether it's the masterclass or live in a center. The Kabbalah 1 of today is completely different than the one of last year and the year before that. And it is probably our most powerful class that we teach.
Not probably. That's for sure. A lot of our listeners are probably familiar with the work of Brene Brown. She is the one who I think brought risk-taking. She calls it daring.
That's right.
We're calling it today risk-taking, but she has a TED Talks, books. She's really inspiring people to live life courageously. And I wrote down a quote, which it's really the PS to what you were just saying. I wrote down a quote that from one of her books, because to me, it really, I wish I could personally text it to a few people while I'm saying it. So hopefully my Virgo friends, you know who you are. But what she says is that perfect and bulletproof, like you were saying, you know, that exactly the way it needs to be. I need all the information. I need to know all of the potential benefits and potential costs. Perfect and bulletproof are seductive, but they don't exist in the human experience, right? So we're waiting to jump into the water when it's 98.6 degrees. We're waiting to, you know, fit into a size 4 bikini. We're waiting for all of the ducks to be in a row, and then we'll test the water. Here we are, weekly energy boost, telling you the water's always going to be cold. You might as well jump now. And I want, you know, everybody who's listening now, I'm sure, let's say if you listened to last week's show and you wrote that list of the fears that you need to break, but you're not breaking them. I'm sure there's something on that list. And if you didn't do your homework, you can still do it now. There's something on that list that you've been carrying for years. I don't mean 2 years. I mean like 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. You know you should, you know, fill in the blank, but it's going to bother people. It's going to upset people. And at the same time, and I know that you've seen bumper stickers and T-shirts and, you know, memes that say things like, you know, the world, at some point, the world couldn't go on without you, and that was the day you were born. Or, you know, you shine your unique light. Kabbalah says that is 100% true and effective and applicable to every single person on the planet. We are all connected. So I don't know, sometimes for me, I know David is always talking about you know, I am destined for fulfillment. That's not a huge motivator for me.
Oh, it's not?
No, it's not. But what
I'm sorry.
You find out new things about me every day. What is a huge motivator for me is that the work that I do in my own private Idaho affects the whole world. Affects my children, affects my spouse, affects my community. And so if I can't if I can't get over my procrastination and get up off the couch and do what I know I need to do for me, knowing that effort helps other people gets me off the couch. And so I'm speaking to all you people who are like me out there. Part of what you need to realize is that you have unique gifts inside you that you are not expressing, that the world needs you to express. This is part of the risk-taking, and I've shared my own personal story many, many times. The way, what got me out of my shell, or what helped me to break out of my fears, was doing it to help others. I couldn't do it for myself. I didn't care enough about my personal happiness or my, you know, unlocking my potential. That wasn't a big sell for me. What was a big sell is I can use what I'm afraid to do to help others. I should do it. And little by did it generate fulfillment? Absolutely. But that wasn't the impetus for me. So part of what I'm sharing this with you is because you may have this part of you. I mean, maybe it's the simple thing you need to do is find the nearest karaoke bar and make a weekly date with yourself to go and sing your heart out, because it's not about the singing. It's not that you're going to get a record deal because you went to do karaoke on Thursday night, but it's about you expressing your unique gifts, which is part of the reason that you came to this world.
So I broke it down into 2 practical aspects of people and the types of risks that they would need to take. And it's very simple. The more the person who's the overthinker, generally inactive, right? Overthinks things, talks a lot about their ideas, has a lot of ideas.
Beautiful imagination about how things are going to be one day.
Amazing. I have a great idea. Somebody tells me I have a great idea to make $1 million. I hear it all the time. The idea people, the main correction there to connect with the tree of life and that the universe will help them. And this week, especially, if you are an inactive person, we don't want to call it inactive person. If you are,
by the way,
if you are the overthinker,
but it's also sometimes that overthinking is immobilizing. It's paralyzing.
Well, that's what I'm getting at right now. That overthinking, overanalyzing, over questioning, over talking, the energy of this week will support you and protect you if you fail fast. That means you take action that to you might seem that there's a downside, but it's coming from the right place. It's coming from a place of, I have a positive idea, I'm just not sure if it's going to work. It's important for you to try it and fail and know that in this week, the Creator will protect you, even in your failure. Failing is so important. Failing fast allows you to succeed fast. And that is the correction of the overthinker. So if you are an overthinker, you know who you are. You are protected this week.
Well, I want to tell you something,
from
by the way.
Taking that leap.
Apropos, I had to speak at the New Moon of Aquarius event in Los Angeles. So usually before I go and I give if I have to speak in public about any astrological sign, I go and I look at who were famous people under that sign.
Under Aquarius.
And they're all revolutionary. Like when you talk about failing fast, who do you think of when you think of a person that failed 1 million times in history? Let's see if you can get it.
I think someone even like Elon Musk.
Okay,
is in the news right now.
history.
Oh, history. Oh gosh, I don't know. What do you want to say?
Thomas Edison.
Okay.
The definition. I mean, the man failed 10,000 times. There you go. Right? Somebody who just failed and failed and failed and failed and failed until he didn't. Or Abraham Lincoln, kind of going against the stream, not really worried about if you like me, if you don't like me, I'm going to upset some people, but it's worth it in the long term. And that's what you were saying before about, maybe some people won't like it in the moment, but if you really care about them, you'll do what's best for them in the long run. That's what's really
what I love about what you said is, Columbus didn't create America, right? Thomas Edison didn't create electricity. Right. This energy was always there. Through multiple failures, what they did is they purified their soul and allowed their soul to connect to the tree of life, which then opened up, a gateway into the physical world of America or electricity. That America was always there. By the way,
Galileo, it's like this long list of people who they just breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough.
They're all saying the iPhone was always there.
Right.
It's just that he revealed it. He didn't create the iPhone. Also an Aquarius.
Jobs is an Aquarius too.
So what we want to understand is our destiny. The energy is already there. Your soulmate's already there. The money that belongs to your soul that's already been allocated since the beginning of the year, we learn, is there. Only through failure and through what we call restriction, it's that purifies the curtain between you and the tree of life. And that purification of the curtain eventually allows you to reveal that which is already there. And it's in suspended animation. It's in potential, waiting for you to reveal it. You're not creating anything. You just have to connect to that world of the tree of life. And the fastest way to do it is by failing, because the humiliation of the failure, the pain of the failure actually cleanses you more than anything else, more than even the hard work of getting there. It's the hardest work is the humiliation. And then you get up and you have certainty. You maintain the sharing certainty duality that we talked about. All right, let me talk about the second person, the overly active person. Reminds me of an overactive bladder. All right, that's the overactive person is like an overactive
David, you
bladder.
haven't talked about
it's a
bathroom trip in a really long time. I'm glad you're...
It's, everybody wants to relieve themselves, but when it's overactive, it becomes annoying. The overactive person.
Today's show sponsored by Always. Depends.
So the overactive person is the person that is reacting all the time to their ideas, is reacting all the time to other people's ideas, seeing what the competitors are doing, and is
monkey
feeling...
see, monkey do.
Yes. Feeling fear and lack, and immediately screams at the team, we got to do this, we got to do that. It's overactive because of some wounded child syndrome. It could be because of some need for approval from the world. It could be from any host of different fears that we talk about or lacks. So they're motivated and they're always doing and they're always failing and they're always, moving forward. And yes, overactive people tend to be successful, but they live in a chaotic reality where the success is up and it's down and there's stress. And what's the point? What's the point? We're still living in the world of chaos, even if they have money. So what is the solution this week for the overactive person? It's to pause, to talk to the universe, talk to the creator, talk to their soul before any decision is being made. An idea comes, right? If I'm the kind of person, me personally, which I might identify more with the overactive person, ideas come to me all the time and I want to do them right away. I pause and I ask the creator, I say, is this what you want? Should I be doing this? You sent me this idea for a reason. Maybe the idea is good, but the timing is bad. Maybe the idea is good, but the process needs to be different. How do you want me to handle this situation? That's my conversation with the creator. And people say, well, what do you mean talking to the creator? You can talk to your soul, you can talk to the universe, it doesn't matter. But that whole conversation, what it does is it pauses and it purifies you and it connects you to the tree of life. So you have to first identify, are you the inactive, the analysis paralysis, as somebody just put in our chat? Or are you the overactive, constantly needs to be doing stuff, constantly doing things from fear and anxiety? Find out which person you are. This week is supporting you and protecting you to transform. Inactive person, any test, any risk you take, you are protected from humiliation. You are protected from failure. Overactive person, this week, slow down, pause, talk to the creator, talk to the universe, talk to your soul. Ask which ideas should be manifested. Ask which business ventures you should go for. Ask which relationships you should engage with. Slow it down.
We have a question here that I think is, I don't think can be answered enough. It's hard to maintain certainty when you fail over and over. How not to give up?
Well, there's two kinds of fail over and over. Is it the fail where you're failing at the same thing over and over again? It means you didn't learn from the failure. You didn't get strong from the failure. You didn't find a way around the failure. If it's you're failing but growing and you're successful and you keep failing at something new, that's normal and that's okay. But it sounds like it's the kind of failure where the person doesn't feel like they're moving forward. And I know a lot of people who are moving forward, but they think they're not moving forward, which is another correction, another issue.
Listen to last week's show.
That's right.
Last week's show, I think we really, it was a unique recipe, created a unique recipe for moving forward no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So that can be very helpful. I think that part of what we need to, in order for you to really identify that point of transformation, what is it that you need to do differently? It requires a self-acceptance. You know, I said before, knowing yourself, knowing what your gifts are. But if you are okay with being authentic, being your authentic self, which means the imperfection and the perfection, right? The gifts and the garbage, then a whole world of possibilities opens up to you. And many times students come to me with a challenge and they say, should I do this or should I do that? I think last week I must have said it 20 times.
Yeah.
Why are there only two options? Right? Like most people
that.
say, I can say yes or I can say no. Even when the possible answers are yes and no, there's a multitude of options as far as how to go about the agreeing or the disagreeing, the accepting.
Give some examples. People are writing that they want some examples.
Okay. Well, they were asking you about what if you're both overactive and overthinking. I don't have an answer to that. You got to go with that one.
If you're both, it's
tons of ideas, wanting to jump on all of them, and yet at the same time being paralyzed by overthinking. And
so be honest with yourself, and we are sometimes both of these things at once, right? Because we have male and female energy inside of us. Deep Kabbalah talks about it. The deeper Kabbalah classes talk about it. And you have to kind of see where you're reactive. Every moment, you have to transform the person you are. And you have to go from being the taker of energy to the giver of energy. So, for example, one way is that I've learned, I don't know why this comes to my mind, is that during the day, we need to be less in our head, more in actions of being there for people, actions of creating, actions of just providing energy, and then being more thoughtful when we're not around people. So, for example, right before we go to bed, right when we wake up in the morning, if I'm by myself in some meditation, those are the times to be thoughtful. How does the negative side that each one of us have, how does that manipulate us? The negative side makes us be thoughtful around people, so we're not present, and makes us do actions when it's just us. So it's really actions for ourselves. It's really kind of selfish, if that makes sense. The negative side is always using our good qualities in the wrong time, and as a result, making them into reactive bad qualities, if that makes sense.
Well, I remember I had a huge aha moment. I want to say it was probably 2004, 2005. We were studying, group of teachers, we were studying, and one of the teachers was sharing their perception, their understanding of what we were studying. And he said, if you think about it, the truth really is that life is all about taking risks and developing certainty. Mm-hmm. You have a challenge, you break through, you take the risk, you come out on the other side, you realize you're okay, and then in that area you have certainty.
That's right.
Right? But then, okay, over here pops up another one. I'm having a challenge now in this department. I need to strengthen myself. That means studying. That means using spiritual tools to connect with filling myself with the light, enough light to strengthen myself to be able to take the leap. I take the leap, and then I have certainty there. And for me, recognizing that that's really, for a long time, I had that in my mind. Mm-hmm. That's really all life is. I have a challenge. I take a risk. I develop greater certainty. And then the next challenge pops up. The Zohar, the main text of Kabbalah, says that life is like an onion, right?
That's right.
So in any given moment, you're presented with a layer to peel off. The question is, how do I peel it off? What's the most effective way to remove this perception of risk, perception of potential failure, perception of potential whatever collateral damage I'm afraid that my risk is going to create? How can I break through that? Because what ends up happening, and this is really what's important about that metaphor, is that the more layers I remove, the more light I'm revealing, the more of my gifts I can share. So it's not that I have gifts and I have garbage. The truth is that by working through both of them, sharing more of my gifts and transforming the things that are hindering me, it's win-win. It's not that you have to do one, focus 6 months of the year on this and focus 6 months of the year on that. They work together, and that again, I'm not one of those front engine people. I'm a rear engine person.
What's a front and a rear?
Like that, I see something and I go for it. I need to
you're not motivated by what you could have. You're motivated by fear.
Right. What I could miss. FOMO.
What you miss. Yes.
So
yeah, those are the two types.
And again, once I accepted that, I could fly.
Right.
Because I wasn't pretending that
Pisces, even though we're both Pisces, which is from the fear place, I'm more on the Aquarius side, which is more on what I could have and the freedom I could have and the expansion I can have. That's what motivates me about Kabbalah. That's interesting.
So for the perspective that really helped me was, again, I have gifts that the world, I was put on this planet because the Creator said, at this point, you're essential to the recipe, right? I need to sprinkle a little Elisheva on the planet, okay? And the realization that I may be holding on to some part of the formula that isn't, what if the reason there isn't world peace right now is because I'm busy worried, should I say it? Shouldn't I say it? How are they going to react? What if they don't like me anymore? What if I get transferred?
That's interesting.
Just do it.
That doesn't motivate me. That's interesting. But I like that. I could see how a lot of people think that
hopefully we're representing, but again, sometimes it's very low level of the reason, and I say low level, obviously I don't really mean that, but sometimes it's more personal, like, I want to make sure that my kids are protected and things, it can be very inner circle, but sometimes it's also very outer circle. I cannot afford the luxury of procrastination because the world needs me. And how do I know it? I was born. And that recognition, just do it already. That's really what gets me off the couch to do those things that I'm most worried, concerned, afraid, is that the world, I wouldn't be here if the world didn't need me here. So you get off the couch and do it.
Here's a common question. So what do I do if I don't know what to do? Does that mean I am a overthinker? What if I tend to be a person who is very overactive, like the overactive bladder? Do I not do? This is a common question. We've addressed this in many shows. Kabbalah teaches us that if you don't know what to do in a certain situation and you have confusion and you generally want to help, you want to share, but you're not exactly sure how to. Maybe it's confronting someone. Maybe it's some kind of a life change, moving, transitioning occupations, transitioning a relationship. What you do is you say, I have certainty that I will know, the Creator will show me. And then you go to another area of your life where you know there's something you need to do, and you take action there. So what happens is, in this other area, you take action that you know you've been procrastinating, as you said. The light and the energy, the tree of life energy from that area that you just took action will spill over into the area where you're not clear. Because each aspect of our lives is like a little cup. It's a vessel. And each one has its own domain of energy, its own reality. That's why many times in one area, a person can be very successful. And in another area, they can be a total failure. Because each one has its own nation energetically within our lives. But these vessels, these cups, spill into each other based on our spiritual work. So you don't know what to do in a certain situation, it's okay. Just pause. Have certainty, not doubts, because if you have doubts, you create like a wall around your nation, so no light can spill in. So I have complete certainty that I will know. And when the Creator wants me to know, I will know. Meanwhile, I'm going to take action in different parts of my life that are waiting for me to take action. Relationships I need to address, actions of sharing I need to do, things within my own personal life that I've been putting off. I'm going to create that energy. It's uncomfortable. I'm going to create that energy, and then it will spill over into the current situation, which I'm confused about.
And the interesting thing I think about those areas where we are blocked or we don't see the step forward, that's actually, maybe because of the way that we're presenting it, it looks like we're only talking about spiritual things. We're also talking about physical things. Like if there are bills that you're putting off paying, or if you're your child needs to switch schools, or if they're physical, material things that you are avoiding because you're afraid, you're worried, maybe you don't have enough, face them, deal with them. What ends up happening, even in the physical reality, is that we cause things to bottleneck, to use David's word, right? So even though everything is in the flow in business, because you're not facing things at home or with your parents or whatever else it is, it creates this bottleneck. And then you wonder why then things...
That's right.
It really, the domino effect, you can't be spiritual in one or two areas of life. It's either, I shouldn't say it's either all or nothing either, but there is no part of your life that is exempt from these processes.
That's right. That's right.
I want to bring up something really quickly before we forget, and then I'm passing it off to you. One of the interesting phenomena that have taken place, at least in the U.S. in the last, I would say, 20 years, is this idea of helicopter parenting, right? That I don't know if it was because somebody made up a story about, in the 70s, people were getting picked up from the park by strangers, or there were razors in Halloween candy. I don't know what it is.
The razors, I remember that.
But at some point, it became a thing I can only speak from where I'm living most of my life, that parents are preventing their kids from getting hurt, rushing in to rescue them at any time that things are not perfect. I actually read something really beautiful. It's not beautiful. It was really I would say it's eye-opening. Yeah. Is that the only time we expect human beings to be good at everything is in elementary and high school. Right? You don't go to your heart surgeon and ask him to look at your taxes and make sure they're okay. And you don't go to your personal trainer and ask him to look at your lawn and tell what kind of soil you should be using. But we expect our children to excel in every subject in school. And when they don't excel, we're afraid.
Oh, that's
right.
Good.
So
great observation.
In the same vein, right? There's been this trend, or tiger mom.
It's right? Just to cut you off for a moment. It's interesting because I think people, when they are dating or they're about to marry somebody, they also have this expectation where they need to crush it in every field of life. Could that be true?
It could be.
Right?
It could be.
If all of a sudden, you're about to marry someone and they're successful but also very depressed, you say, look, no worries about your depression. At least you're very good in this area. You're successful, right? Because we are afraid to link up every part of our lives with every part of their lives if there's a little bit of a cancer. in that part of the life. Okay,
Well,
continue.
I think I meant professionally. I didn't mean emotionally.
I got
just
you,
meant
but keep
professionally.
going. That's good.
Anyway, it was a very interesting. It was mentioned in a book I was reading. Anyway, but there is actually a new trend towards teaching kids how to take risks. Now, maybe I was thinking before,
very
maybe the
nice.
reason that we came in and helicoptered is because, let's say taking drugs is risky behavior.
Yeah.
Sexual promiscuity is risky behavior. So we don't want to teach our kids to take risks. But at the same time, if you don't teach your kids to take risks, they won't try anything unless they know they can't fail, or everything is going to be perfect on the other side.
What's an example of a risk that you would give your children, or you have?
To speak in front of a group of people.
Okay, so it's not like to get high with you.
No. Again, the idea is to teach children to be open-minded enough to know that there's a lot out there that they don't know. There's a lot of things they've never tried before, and not liking something or failing at it is okay.
Got it.
That's really
good.
the
That's a good calculated risk, because speaking in front of someone, okay, what's the worst that's going to happen? They'll be embarrassed. They'll mess up. But what if it scars them?
That's okay. I mean, the idea is that it's our fear. We project our fears onto them, that they'll be damaged like us, or God forbid, they'll have the childhood that we had. I don't mean for me personally, but that's I think what a lot of people are worried about. And then the trend is, right, if your child isn't willing to scrape their, bump their knee or look silly in front of other people, or being worried about being embarrassed isn't really a healthy fear, right? You don't want your kids to be worried about being embarrassed, because if they're worried about rejection from other people, they'll never express their true desires and happiness and what makes them tick.
All right, so I'll add to that, because one of the things that we help parents with in the study of Kabbalah is to understand that your children also have what we call a tikkun, which is a correction of their soul that they must go through. So in the same way we have things that we must transform, your child is also being raised by the Creator, not by you. You're just the manager of the energy.
Right.
The Creator is...
That's sometimes hard to
digest. Remember that you also used to be a child, and the Creator put you through certain experiences to mold you so that you can have the challenges you need for your soul's correction. So sometimes kids must go through something, and it's okay, because they have their own personal correction to go through so that they can transform it, and that they can reach the tree of life in their own life, and the highest levels of themselves. Our job as parents is to be role models and to be examples of the light of the Creator in, around them, and even when we're away from them. It's not just to be good parents. I think people are so sometimes focused on be a good parent. I've seen that nobody knows what being a good parent really means. But what we can all agree on is when my child sees me, close to my wife, or having unity or respect, or really acting like everything we learn in Kabbalah in the house and away from the house when I'm traveling. How am I acting on a plane? How am I acting in my hotel room? How am I acting in a conference? My children can feel that because our souls are connected. This is the greatest parenting that exists, is you working on yourself. And here's what's interesting, that a man should know, and the woman should know, that the sperm includes the souls of your future children, and the womb of the mom also creates like the energy where the child will be. And even though you don't have children and you're not in a relationship, your consciousness and your actions now are affecting the souls of your children, right? So like we tell men, you may be 22 years old, you're not going to get married or have children for another 10 years. That's fine. But whatever you're doing now is affecting your sperm, the souls that exist in the sperm, which means they're affecting your children in 10 years. There's a little bit of Kabbalah for you.
Okay, but I don't want to walk away from that so quickly. What about people who have had kids and are having grandkids now? What do you tell them?
Yeah. It's also affected. So it says that, for example, if you're having a lot of problems with your kids, it has to do with...
Adult kids?
Even adult kids, has to do with your thoughts. Your thoughts are in the wrong place, because the thoughts are the seed level, and your children are your seed level, or your seed. So when children, there's problems with children, it means that there's usually problems with the thoughts of the parents. That's what one of the Kabbalists once said. So yes, definitely when the child is under 12 for a girl, 13 for a boy, it is a direct correlation with the consciousness and thoughts of the parents. And of course, we're going to get questions like, oh, well, what if we're divorced? Or what if the parent's not alive? And all these different things. There's a whole class for that. And from 12 and 13 for a boy, 12 for a girl, until 20, there's another level of deep soul connection with the parents. And then the smallest would be from 20 on. So the child really embarks on their own spiritual path. After 20, there's still a connection to the parent's soul. The parents still need to realize they are spiritually responsible. Their energy affects their children's energy.
Okay. So as we focus this week on ticking off more things on that list, things that we have been procrastinating, afraid to try, worried about how other people are going to receive, look into your energy and your approach. I think that that's one of the biggest gifts we can get this week is, approach those unfamiliar, risky situations with certainty, with courage, with I don't know, with a energy of can't wait to see what this leads to, right? Because even if it doesn't lead to, if the door closes, as every door closes, another one opens. And if you're really, again, connected to yourself on a soul level, connected to the light force of the creator on that deeper level, don't you want to know when you're going down the wrong road? That's right. That to me is a huge motivator in taking a risk. I want to know if it's the wrong path, and I want to see it as quickly as possible so I can pivot. So as you look into those things that you say, I wanted to try it, I'm not sure. I wanted to take this class, I'm not. Go for it. Be Aquarius about it. What I see in Aquarians is they have this independence of spirit. I know before I portrayed it as kind of like, I don't care what you think about me. They do care what other people think about them, but they don't let that be the reason that they do or they do something. Be brave, be courageous, dare, and maybe just do it for this week, right? You don't have to commit to it for a lifetime, but remember that, to me, this is also something that's really inspiring. Way back in the day, it was really hard for me to let go of my BlackBerry. And I know that there's people that are out there that still use their BlackBerry. Feel free to use this metaphor in your own life. I'm using it because when I got the iPhone, I couldn't believe it was like having a computer in my pocket, right? I was excited about texting and emailing and talking on the same device when I got my iPhone. And I'm sure the BlackBerry is different now, but this is, let's say, 10 years ago.
There is a BlackBerry.
I think there is.
All right.
Okay, anyway. So my point is, in the same way that it's hard to open up to new technology, look back in your life and realize, wow, I was skeptical about the internet and now I can't live without it. Oh, I was skeptical about the iPhone, but now I can't live without it. I was skeptical about, celery juice, but now I can't live. Think about the things in your life where you did take a risk and how you without that thing in your life on your relationship. I'll leave you with this. I don't know if I ever shared it in the show, but I was married previously. And right after getting divorced and meeting my now husband and knowing that he wanted to get married to me, so I was a little bit nervous because I had just gotten out of a marriage that
How much time was in between?
4 years between the two. So I remember saying to one of my mentors, well, what if it doesn't work and I need to divorce him? And you know what she said to me? So what? So you get another divorce. And that statement to me was the most freeing. I mean, I can remember the color of the paint on the wall behind her when she said it to me. So what? So you get another divorce. And it really was like, you're right. It's worth the risk. Anyway, when you love somebody, there's going to be pain there, right?
Nice.
You might as well love courageously.
Yeah.
And okay, there may be hurt, but isn't it worth it?
Because it could be humiliating being divorced twice.
There's so many things that divorce can come with. Forget about it. That's not what this show is about. But the point is, take the risk. And at that point, the pros way outweighed the cons, and I stopped being frozen, and we jumped into the water. But the really amazing thing was that moment of like the invisible cord was cut.
That's nice.
So guys, for all of you who are listening, first of all, if you are listening on any of our podcasts, please rate and review us, help us reach even more people. Share the show with anybody who in your life that you know needs to take the leap, needs to cut the cord, needs to do whatever they need to do.
Our audience is growing because you're commenting and you're sharing these posts. So we really appreciate that.
Have a fabulous week. Continue to share with us your comments, your questions. Again, we're on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, CastBox, Stitcher, Facebook, IGTV, and YouTube. Have a fabulous week, and we'll see you next time on the Weekly Energy Boost.